The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Welcome to another episode of the Icons of Real Estate podcast, where we highlight top professionals who are making waves in the industry. I'm your host, Karen Roberts, and today we're excited to introduce Deanna Dopslaf, and she's the co-owner of the Southwest Life Real Estate Group. With an impressive career in real estate, Deanna is known for her expertise in working with sellers, property enhancement, and marketing. Her innovative property enhancement program has achieved remarkable results, boasting a 98.96% sold to list price ratio and an average market time of just 19 days. So Deanna's journey is defined by resilience. During the 2008-2009 market crash, she emerged as the top short sale agent in New Mexico. And beyond her real estate achievements, she serves as an elected zoning commissioner for the Paradise Hill Special Zoning District. And she's offering invaluable insights. So let's dive in and uncover the story behind her success. So welcome to the show, Deanna.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful welcome.
And so would you like to share with the listeners really what inspired you to step into the real estate world, and how has your journey evolved over the years?
Well, actually, my reason for getting into real estate was had a lot of multifolds to that. I was a active duty military spouse. My husband spent 31 years in the Air Force. I was also an Army brat. My father had spent 34 years Army, so I'd always grown up military. And we had recently moved from overseas. We had moved over from Japan, and I was looking to sort of reinvent myself. I had left a pretty successful technology career as a web developer before going to Japan, and having been gone for 4 more years, was definitely behind on my skills and said I needed to find a career that could move with me as my husband served in the military. And so in my infinite wisdom, I thought real estate was going to be that career path. So I sat down, got my license, and decided to start working, obviously specifically with military families and anyone coming in and out of the Albuquerque area. And I got in right before the market crash.
Well, but ebbs and flows, right? Yes, you had the crash, but there's been some highlights too, right?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think actually coming in at that time was fantastic. We had a massive real estate boom before I got into real estate, so I missed all the easy stuff, and so I had to learn how to work and really grind through growing my business. I didn't know at that time, but my very first transaction ended up being a short sale, and that was in 2007 before the big crash happened. So that was definitely a really good insight into what my life was going to be like for about 3 years, and was able to really pivot, I think, a lot faster than most real estate agents at the time. They were so used to, writing multiple offers, writing offers on the hood of the car, and things just getting accepted and prices going up. And I didn't get in at that time. I got when things were, starting to come down. And so I didn't develop any of those bad habits. I was used to working, that 40 to 60 hour week, grinding, helping the consumer. And when I saw the writing on the wall, I immediately got certified in short sale negotiation and was ready to take on and a lot of clients. And I think at my peak, I was holding anywhere from 35 to 40 short sale listings at any given time.
Wow.
So,
Well, you're doing a few different things. So tell us a little bit about your property enhancement program, which has obviously delivered incredible results. So what sparked the idea to focus so heavy on this aspect of selling?
Well, I originally got started when a friend of mine left the staging business and I acquired all of her staging materials and decided that obviously property enhancement through staging was going to be a great opportunity because a lot of the consumers just really, especially vacant properties, we had a lot of vacant properties at the time. But what really started to change was starting to coordinate all of the property improvements for the consumer. I think one of the biggest hurdles for homeowners who maybe have been in the home for a long time, or maybe the older population who are transitioning maybe into retirement communities, or maybe into assisted living, or families trying to help members who are doing that, or maybe have passed away. We oftentimes run into properties that are in pretty poor condition. Maintenance has been deferred and everything, and when you've got long distance family, they can't coordinate that. So we ended up putting together, we had a on staff maintenance man. We have different arrangements with different contractors, all the way from general contract to electrician, plumbing, cleaning, all of that. And we coordinate that for our clients now. And that takes a lot of that stress. So whether it's you just don't have the time and energy to get your home ready for market, or maybe you're transitioning it out and you're a family member helping a family member who can't do that, we can take care of that for you.
Oh, well, it just goes to show it's so important to have a network around you that you can trust and that you can recommend, and having some of them on your team, that's I suppose that's priceless.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
so with these, you were the top short sale agent. Would you like to share how different that aspect is on the general properties?
Well, I think a lot of the folks who specialized in that in from about 2008 to 2011, depending on how fast your market recovered, one of the things a lot of people discovered is a lot of those homes actually never sold. You ended up oftentimes negotiating, giving the home back to the lender, and that was still helping the consumer, and but it was a little disheartening at the time. We kind of joke around. I was actually a redhead before this all started. I'm now gray. And that's short sales. But the stress of, helping that consumer out, and in the end, maybe not even making a commission on it because it never sold, did take its toll. But what it did is it laid a foundation for us in our company. A lot of those consumers, because they changed some of the lending requirements, with whether it be bankruptcies or foreclosures, a lot of them were coming back within 3 or 5 years, having recovered, and they were back in a position to buy again, which was wonderful because we had taken such good care of them. They came back to us. And so that kind of set that foundation for us to continue growing and to expand our network, expand our sphere, and have a lot more opportunities with other consumers who we were being recommended to. So that short sale, having taken, coming from a place of service, that was really big for us with our military background, and providing the service regardless of what the gain was for us, really did pay off in the long run in our business.
I think that's important for everybody to realize, right? That when you do show up to serve, some of these things that may seem quite negative in the beginning, in the long run, you will get it back. You will get it back.
Definitely do. Absolutely.
And you're a zoning commissioner. So how has your role influenced your perspective on property value and community development?
So, being a zoning commissioner is a double-edged sword. We have a unique situation here in New Mexico that we actually have about 3 or 4 special zoning districts. So we are a zoning district within a county that already has zoning commission. So we're a second layer, the first layer to a second layer. And learning, just how difficult it is as a zoning entity to really control the quality of development within a neighborhood was really eye-opening for me. Also learning the impact on property values from certain zoning rules. That was very helpful. One of the things that we faced during COVID was a lot of consumers, a lot of homeowners being stuck at home got into big project mode, right? They
Mm.
started updating their homes, renovating their homes, putting on additions, bringing in, she sheds and he sheds and all of these things into their properties, a lot of which were being done just in total disregard to zoning. One, because a lot of the zoning offices were shut down, and two, because the consumer maybe didn't even know that there was rules against it. And so we spent a lot of time not necessarily undoing, but having to deal with the consequences of unfettered changes to the neighborhood that were not properly zoned, and being able to educate the consumer after the fact. Many times they were having to tear things down in order to sell their homes,
Oh,
or they were having to remodel and redo everything and do retroactive permitting. So being able to, share that information with the consumer so they made the proper improvements, one, that they didn't have liens or judgments against a property for violating zoning, but also that they did the right improvements to increase their property values.
oh, there's a lot that goes into that. And isn't it interesting that again, another terrible, terrible part of life a few years ago could bring on so many of those. But when people aren't aware, which is
Yeah.
why, these podcasts, it's about talking about it, about educating people about it. So, for you, what's going on in New Mexico? A lot of realtors that we speak to this year's been a odd, should we say, year. So for you guys over there, how have
Mm-hmm.
things been like? What were your transactions like last year compared to this year? How are things going?
Well, we've been actually blessed. We've been able to contain and maintain and actually do better this year. But it really meant getting back to the basics. And I think what happened, and this ties back into COVID again. We kind of have a funny term here. We call them COVID realtors. They're the realtors that came into the business right at or right after COVID. And Albuquerque, wow, the change was profound in our communities here. In some neighborhoods, we saw from that, right in that 2020, midsummer 2020, all the way through about, midsummer 2022, we saw property values increase as much as 25%. It was just unfettered, out of control, prices going up, huge demand, multiple offer situations. And I think a lot of the agents that came in during that time, they thought the phone rang and they had a deal. Real simple.
Mm,
And I'm coaching. We have a pretty substantial team here, and just coaching agents who came into that time super frustrated. They don't know the basics. They don't know that real estate is a long-term follow-up game. Consumers aren't always ready or capable of buying or selling at the given time they first reach out to you, and a lot of the agents lost touch with that skill. They were
mm,
just too used to being order takers. Phone rang, go write it up. Phone rings, go write it up. And I think that led to two problems. One, we have a lot of agents who just don't have the skill sets, and they're scrambling and trying to catch up. And I think it also created a perception nationwide that agents weren't as important, or brokers were not as important. I think that's why we saw a lot of the fallout with
mhm.
the NAR
No.
settlement. If an agent can put a sign in the yard and sell it in 24 hours, why do I really need them? Right?
Mm,
And that was just a very unique situation that I think kind of evolved all over the country. And for New Mexico, like I said, property values went up probably about 20 to 28%, depending where you are. And unfortunately, our property values have outpaced the average wage earner in Albuquerque. And so it's a
mm,
lot difficult for people to find affordable housing here based on our salaries. The people who are buying are the ones who are migrating into the state, coming from Washington, Oregon, California, Colorado, looking for more affordable housing compared to where they're from, more favorable politics maybe, or just more favorable opportunities, because everybody started being able to be a little more mobile after realized they could have employees work anywhere. So a lot of things
mm.
happened in Albuquerque.
So where do you see it going? What's next for you and your team?
Oh, next growth. We have every intention of continue to take market share. I think a lot of like companies, especially small boutique ones or teams or agents, are struggling with that transition from easy real estate to traditional real estate, as I call it. Having to get back to basics of, lead generating, actually doing the open houses, actually having to provide more value to the consumer. And we have positioned ourselves to where we're ready to take that on. And as a team, we're going to be there to be able to help take market share away from all the agents that are leaving. And that's where we wanted to be. Continue to provide value, continue to provide consistent follow-up, and be able to be there when the consumer needs us.
Fantastic. And our last question is always the same, because here at Icons, we're not just a podcast. We are the #1 real estate podcast network in the US. And so we're passionate about making podcasting accessible to anybody involved in the business of real estate. So, Deanna, if you had your own podcast, do you have any idea what you'd call it?
Absolutely, I do. Because of my military background and because of how I approach my business, I'd call it Operation Real Estate.
There we go. Perfect. And for the listeners, how do they reach out to you if they're interested in buying or selling in Albuquerque?
Real simple. It's just the southwestlife.com.
There you go. There it is. There you go, listeners. Nice and simple. So thank you so much for taking time out today to speak with me, and to the listeners. I'll be back next time with the Icons of Real Estate. Bye for now.
Thank you so much.